'em, huh?
If you really want some film at 11, why don't you follow me down to the brewery? I'll tie a bowling ball to my ankle, dive in the vat of beer. I'll leave this world the same way I entered my marriage, dead drunk.
Hello.
Want a beer?
Hook it up.
Yeah. Hook me up.
Yo, Herb, take it from the top. 1, 2.
Beer?
This is how we do it.
My mic sound nice, check 1. My mic sound nice, check 2. My mic sound nice, check 3. Are you ready?
That's cute. I remember when I had my first beer.
You like parties? Yeah. We can invite all our friends and have soda and pie.
Yeah!
I hope no bad people show up.
My mic sounds nice, check 1. My mic sounds nice, check 2. My mic sounds nice, check 3. My mic sounds nice, check 4. My mic sounds nice, check 5. My mic sounds nice, check 6. Are you ready?
You want some of this milk?
Rather have a beer.
What do you guys give me if I kill that bird? Barbara, that's a bald eagle. Get away, Baldy! Yeah!
Oh, good evening. Hey-oh, good evening. And good evening. This is The Word with Mike, Pete, and Steve. We are on GovsRadio.com. Govs Radio Comedy Club, or Govs Comedy Club Radio, on Facebook. Of course, we're also on the YouTube. And, of course, on our homepage, GovsRadio.com. Tonight, we have a few sponsors before we get to our guest. And those sponsors are as follows. Tonight, we are sponsored by Brewbag. Brewbag for beer pong cornhole in your backyard with your custom logo. God damn it, get yourself a freaking Brewbag. Brewbag.com for your awesomeness in the backyard. It's a little cold out there, but you know what? You can still throw some bags. Ain't nothing wrong with throwing a few bags.
And socially distant. It's a great socially distant beer game.
That's it. And, of course,
unlike beer pong where you're throwing the ping pong balls, it's not sanitary.
Everyone's putting their mouth on everything.
Mouths on everything.
That's crazy.
Disgusting.
In their mouth.
But yet deliciousness. God. Well, now you're getting too sexy for the show. I mean, that's just way too sexy, Steven. So go to Brewbag or go to our link in our Instagram. Go to our Instagram, click on the link above, and follow that link to Brewbag and get yourself a nice little discount on our awesome brew bags from Scott Quick over at brewbag.com. Check it out, brewbag.com, for all your backyard fun games. And, of course, tonight we are also sponsored by VintageBeerShirtClub.com. VintageBeerShirtClub.com, thank you very much for sponsoring the show this year. 2020 has been a dumpster fire, to say the least, and yet your shirts have prevailed and been part of our gifts to our brewers and our guests throughout the time. So thank you to VintageBeerShirtClub.com. Go ahead and go on the website and, of course, type in the promo code WORT, W-O-R-T, for your discounted subscription to old-school VintageBeerShirtClub.com shirts. Check them out, VintageBeerClubShirt.com. Steven, take it away.
Rosie's Draft Solutions. Rosie's Draft Solutions provides professional draft beer, system services, line cleanings, and more for your establishment. Customers can enjoy the best quality beverages from their cleaning systems. They service bars, restaurants, halls, events, homes, and all other beverage establishments across Long Island and Westchester. Mention the Wort for a discount. These guys are awesome. I keep noticing more and more. I see more places are using Rosie's, and I'm going to go to those places because I know those lines are freaking pristine.
Clean your pipes. So when you call Nick over at Rosie's Draft Solutions, tell him Mike, Pete, and Steve from the Wort sent you and receive 10% off. Of course, your line cleaning, your service, or some rental hardware, go to rosiesdraftsolutions.com. And Peter, give us a little information about Brewers Hardware.
BrewersHardware.com for all your large home brewing needs, your small home brewing needs, and your small production brewery needs. You need that tri-clamp, you need that fitting, some hose, filters, whatever you need. BrewersHardware.com. They've been a really good sponsor. giving us gift cards for all the brewers on the show. Great guys, brewershardware.com. And it's Small Business Saturday this weekend, I think, right? If that's
it is. So
still
I've
a
heard.
thing. Go visit Hartwell Woodshop. Great Christmas gift. You can get a nice cutting board, maybe a sign for the bar downstairs or something.
Look at you doing the promos now.
Hartwell Woodshop in Patchogue.
Stepping up to the mic, stepping up to the plate.
I'm always stepping up to the plate, and it's always full of deliciousness that I shouldn't be eating.
Also, check out Tavor.com for beer shipped right to your door. Go to Tavor.com and in the promo code, type in Wort, W-O-R-T, to get your beer shipped right to your door. Tavor.com. And thanks a lot, everyone, for sponsoring us. We only have one more show for this year, I think. I don't think we're going to do a second show in December. So we're nearing the end of this really, really awful, terrible year that it seems to have some sort of bright spot somewhere along the lines. But in the meantime, we're making the best of it. And for that, tonight we brought in our buddy, Paul, from Blind Bat Brewing Company in Centerport, New York, Long Island. What's up, Paul? What's going on, man?
Holy.
Hello?
Hi.
Oh, but wait. Mike, can you just, I'm sorry, can you just pronounce his last name for us? Because I didn't hear it. I didn't hear you say his last name.
Do I have to say his last name? Should I not?
Yeah, I think you have to try.
Okay, it's I'm not even gonna say the D. It looks silent when followed by an L. So let's go with, or the L is silent when preceded by a D. Lugokenti? Lugoentki.
Smith.
not even close, huh? Oh boy.
It's mangled at Ellis Island. In Poland, everybody knows there's an L with a little diagonal slash through it. Every child in Poland. It's not with a W, but they just made a regular L. So it should be Długokenski, but it's Długokenski. My parents were kind.
So Długokenski. All right, that's not bad. I was trying to put a T at the end there for no apparent reason. Because you see Kenski and it's more SKY when you ski, and then Kentucky is pretty close there too. So I'm sure you get a lot of people dropping the T in there and calling it Lugo, Kentucky.
How many beers? How many beers you have today?
Only 2 so far. There'll be more.
Ohio, Kentucky.
Yeah.
Ohio, Kentucky.
Ohio, Kentucky. Oh my God. Paul, I think your audio is just going a little bit in and out. I'm not sure why that is, but we'll clear that up in just a few moments.
Maybe
I was just going to text you and say, is there any way to boost Paul's audio?
No, I can't do that individually. It's just a matter of, I guess, maybe it's the echoey of the room, but I don't think that's it. I think it's you have good Wi-Fi. It sounds like when you start talking, it gets going. So we'll just have to give you a moment in between to kind of let the Zoom grab your audio and stream it correctly. But we'll see how it goes along the way. We'll try to make adjustments live on the air. You know, that's how we do it. Ooh, there it is. Paul, so, you know, this is one of the things we posted recently. You know, we wanted to get you on the show. We've been kind of going back and forth for a little bit, you know, here and there through Instagram and social media, and then, of course, email, which is the best way to kind of get in touch with you. So, you know, to me, and as we posted in some of the promotional stuff, we actually, I think that you're one of the OGs of Long Island. That's me making those posts. And when I think Blind Bat and see the logo, I think of one of the first breweries that was here on Long Island, kind of like Gen 1 of the craft beer scene on Long Island.
Maybe 2.
Okay.
Or 1.5. I mean, there was.
We'll go with 1.5. That's pretty good.
I launched finally. I started the process in 2006. Finally got all the licensing in place and launched in 2008. At that point, there was Blue Point, of course, Southampton Public House,
yep,
Rick House Brewery, and Black Forest.
Yeah.
Wow.
Then that's definitely. I'm going to put you in.
That is a limited list.
Yeah. And let's see, Public House gone.
That came and went.
Yeah.
It lasted a year or two.
What was some of those? What were some of those breweries that were around for just a short time? You remember?
There's a brewery called Cobblestone in Huntington Station. Mark Burford worked there.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, we also David Gonzalez, who we had on from Lost Worlds. He worked it at in Port Jefferson. It was called.
Oh, right.
It was a brew pub. I forgot.
Yes.
The name didn't make
James Bay. James Bay was the name.
in Port.
You're right. That doesn't make sense. Yeah.
They set up in Garden City on Stewart Avenue that lasted like a year.
Yeah, there was it there one called Long Island Brew House?
Oh, Jericho Turnpike in Jericho, yeah.
He even knows the address. He's like 475 Jericho Turnpike. Don't forget it. This is before Waze was a thing. He had it down.
Of course, too, there was John Harvard's.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
John Harvard, yeah.
I mean, you were not a quote unquote brew pub, and that was at that level. So, like I said, R.I.P. The Southampton Public House, Brick House in the last few years really has not had their own brew rocking like it used to. Occasionally, I see things pop up on the board, and sometimes it's not even what they brewed. So I don't know what's going on there. I've yet to get a straight answer over there.
Yeah.
And then John Harvard's gone. Long Island Brew Pub gone. What was the other one we mentioned? Blue Point
Black
obviously
Forest.
stayed. Black Forest. I love Black Forest. That's what I was talking about, though. I was talking about Black Forest not having a lineup.
Paul
You said
to me
Brick
was
House,
the-
yeah.
Oh, I'm
Paul to
sorry.
me was
I'm
the
sorry.
original-
I meant to say Black Forest was the one that didn't have anything brewed recently in the last
Right,
few years.
right.
Brick House has always been Brick House, but Paul, obviously moved over to Ghost, and they have the new guy in there now doing good things. I've heard good things about the beer still coming out of Brick House, so that's good. He left behind a legacy.
Yes, he did. Yeah, Paulie is like the original to me, Nano Brewery on Long Island. There was really no one else doing small scale, you weren't getting see barrels and barrels of it all over. When you could find it, you had to get your hands on it because there wasn't a lot to go around. So that was to me like the real first, small nano niche brewery on the island was Blind Bat.
Paul, take us back to that starting point. How did this all get started? How did you get into this sector of the industry?
Like everybody else, had a job I was not thrilled with. Got into home brewing. It's same old story. My wife and I made wine together. Which led me to brewing because we used to be a wine and beer making supply place in Islip, Arbor.
That was Arbor, right on Main Street.
Yeah, right by the train tracks.
Yeah,
I remember that.
We'd go there and get our wine making supplies, and like a toddler, I'd wander off into the beer making supply section while supposed to be wine making supplies. And so she surprised me one Christmas with a kit. I make beer. I liked it. I was doing it. Making wine, it was like a year or two before you know what you have. Whereas with beer, obviously, a couple of weeks, a couple of months, you've got something you can drink. So
Payoff was much bigger. And where'd you get started? Were you started in your house, obviously, and then kind of move out from there?
On the stove, in the kitchen. Then I, learned all grain because I figured, by then I was daydreaming about starting. I was into cooking crepes at the time, or crepes.
Crepes.
Yeah, Steve corrected me the other day. Crepes.
Or smoking a pancake?
Yes.
Bongadablins.
Bongadablins.
So I daydreamed about starting a place, just a little place, big crepes. There, just a little European-style tiny place. Then I realized I didn't know anything about the restaurant industry. I didn't know anything about the brewing industry, so that was a crazy idea. Today, we got a little kitchen. We make food, we make beer, and that's kind of what we're doing.
That's fantastic. And so, like I said to you before, I mean, the place that I first saw you available to the public was at like farm or farmers markets. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that was what I saw on the social media early on was, we're going to be at this farmer's market, that farmer's market. And I go, it'd be awesome if earlier in my craft beer career, I was just strolling through a farmer's market and someone had beer. I don't think I've ever stumbled upon a small brewery selling at a farmer's market, but I think you were one of the first ones out there doing that.
Well, I did it the first year that it was legal,
Right.
which so 2011, I think it was. So I did farmers markets for a good number of years until we got this place up and running, and I'm just not doing them just because I can only be in so many places at one time.
Right. The early on, you had some very, very, radical ideas compared to what was already out there. I mean, today you go, oh, okay, now that makes sense. But back then, it was something that you were like, oh, do you put in basil in fucking beer? I mean, that's dope. Today, it's like, yeah, we got basil in the beer. So I think it's a little more acceptable. How was it received early on when you guys were first putting stuff out there?
Well, it was tough in the farmers markets because while the state said you can pour samples, each farmers market had their own rules. And the farmers markets I was in would allow me to actually pour samples. So I tried and describe the beer as best as I could. But there definitely were people who were like, I described the beer and they go, can I taste it? No. And they go, okay, I'll catch you next time. So, but it took time. Everything takes time.
I think that's tough because one of the biggest things for a tasting room is to have the ability to kind of have someone taste it. And that will definitely lead to more purchases because they're willing to then cough up the money then for something that they know they like rather than, spend like, $14 to $13, $25, whatever on a smaller bottle. And then they got home and like, nah, I didn't really like that. But it's tough back then. Nowadays, I think it's more received that way, but now you're in a different place. How did that progression go from where you were early on to now? Like what were the big leaps and bounds along the way?
Well, I started at part-time, working a full-time job. My first brewing system was I could only do 10 gallons of beer at a time. So I did that for a couple of years. And then when I, felt like there was enough positive feedback to go to the next step, I got, which was for me a much bigger system, but for everybody else it's still small, 93 gallons at a time, which in the industry parlance is 3 barrels. And those are the sizes of batches that I'm still doing.
Okay.
But, it's still a size you can experiment with. And if you're trying to try a new recipe, a new idea out, and if it turns out really bad, it's not like, oh shit, I got to dump 25, 50 barrels of this beer and that's just it.
All the money that went into buying the ingredients for it.
Time, money,
everything.
Peek ahead because we're past the statute of limitations here, so you can go ahead and talk badly now.
So fuck hopsters in Boston Seaport. Fuck them. Yeah, just
why?
Sideways
Why, Peter?
to the moon.
Why?
So we over the summer,
as our audience,
god awful, oxidized sludge.
Ugh.
Yeah.
And upon reaching out to hopsters to rectify the situation, they ghosted us like someone we met on Tinder. Yep. So fuck hopsters in the Boston Seaport.
In the ass, mouth, and sea.
we had them on. We had them on the show.
We did, and everything seemed fine. And then we, like Pete said, we went through the process and we did everything we were going to do. And then, when we got back and things didn't go right, we did get response within 24 hours that they were going to look into it. A week went by. I let a week go by. And then
apparently they're still looking into it.
Well, that was it. After a week, we ended up saying, so what's the deal? And they said, oh, no one got back to him. We said no. And then that was it. That's the last I heard in pretty much the last 3 to 4 weeks at this point. So there's that. And that's all I can say about it. Because other than that, it's pretty much effed. So.
Yes.
But anyway.
Well, I have a question for Steve.
Yeah.
Based with your experience, do you have any theories on what went wrong with that batch of beer?
Yeah. Well, first they didn't have like real fermenters. They were plastic, like 15-gallon containers that looked like they were old chemical containers.
Correct.
They would put the beer in a plastic bag so they didn't have to clean it. The bag was already basically clean. And then they would put a bubbler in it and let it go. I feel when they because, and again, they transfer, they're doing just a gravity transfer. So there's no CO2 being involved for moving. You know, you're getting oxygen in that. So they put it into our kegs, probably didn't carbonate it until we got there, which was a week later. Sat in the keg. Now, the keg was pressurized, but if you're gravity feeding, you got to dump that CO2. So now you're just putting it right in. I mean, this color of your beer right here, this Weizenbach, this is lighter than what the wheat beer looked like.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. That's the reaction, Paul.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. Good enough. Yep.
Yeah. I just think well, yeah, you know, we'll carb it right before they get there. Oh, they're coming tomorrow. Okay, we'll carb it tonight. They even said, oh yeah, we'll just put some CO2 and roll it around a little bit. So there was they weren't, you know.
So let me ask you this, because this is one thing that's always been on my mind. What would have been different had we bottled it?
Well, they probably would have done a slurry.
Okay.
Of basically sugar and the wort. You know, you get it before the fermentation is totally done. There's a little bit of yeast left, and then you let it naturally carbonate in the bottle.
In the bottle. So it was going to be a bottle ferment.
Just like a homebrew kit you would do.
Right.
Same thing. That's what they would have done.
Yeah, that's where my wife was wise when she got me my first beer kit, because she remembered what it was like bottling wine.
Mm-hmm.
In the ass, filling each bottle. So she got a little corny keg set up. So my first batch of beer was on draft, which was
nice. Oh, and yeah, and that's what when I learned how to homebrew years ago, we did bottles, but as soon as I could, I got the draft system, and I was like, I wasn't looking back. I'm like, people are like, hey, can you give me a bottle? No, you come over my house and drink it.
But you're not going to risk the potential contamination.
Oh, it's everything. You could have them overcarbonated. Nothing could happen. The yeast could be not viable, and now you have flat beer.
Yeah, you don't want that either. Jesus.
So
I actually probably would have rather had flat beer than we could force carbonate at Joe's place, and then we would have been better off at that point.
Yeah.
Just give us the bags, like a freaking beer bowl. We could have just brought it home in the back seat of the car, just tied it up nice. But yeah, there you go, Paul. That was pretty much what we went through. And at this point, listen, we weren't looking to get everything back. We weren't looking to get, all our money back, even though we probably should have. And we spent a bunch of money going up there and drinking there and twice. It wasn't even that. It was, we had a great experience. I'll chalk it up to the entertainment value of the trip we took. But at least give us that recognition that we didn't fuck this up. It had nothing to do with us. You guys know the process and where it messed up. And now, at that point, when they probably realized, oh, yeah, we fucked up, that's when they ghosted us. And that's why we were upset about it. It's not, if they came back and just told us what was wrong and even given us like $100 back out of the $4 and change that we spent on that, I would have been fine. As long as it's a recognition of, yeah, we messed up and here's what we can do.
And it just be like, hey, look, we can't give you all the money back because there's always that chance that a beer's going to be going wrong.
Right. And we varied it. We varied the ingredients. I get it. But even just some sort of token saying they recognize the fact that they were a part of, probably a huge part of the screw up. That's all we were looking for. And, we'll chalk it up to an experience that we will not do again. That's for damn sure.
Nope.
And we'll not be recommending in the future.
I mean, anyone can make mistakes, and any of us will make mistakes. But the big thing is you say, oh, I'm sorry, I messed this up, and let me make it right. That's all you need.
Yeah, I mean, I said to Steve and Pete, I said, guys, I mean, what would be really the best case scenario where we get it all back? They'd invite us back up there. Are we going back up there? Probably not. That was a lot of travel and back and forth, 2 trips. If they offered to brew us our beer again and then on the arm and ship it to us, without having to, pay any. I mean, I'd even pay for the shipping if they just brewed it themselves for us, just so we get it back down here and we do the process and, pretend like we brewed this one, but we really went through the process. it would have made a little bit of a difference. But just something in the end.
When is it that when did this happen? This experience?
We
October, right?
Well, no, we brewed in.
Oh no.
I think we brewed in September.
Hold on.
And went back in October.
We were end of August.
End of August. Okay, the week before school started in August.
That's right. Yeah.
29th. And then we would go back 3 weeks, 2 weeks, 3 weeks.
It was like 3 weeks.
Yeah, and then we were going to have mid-September an Oktoberfest that we were going to release at the end of September for October. And in fact, here, I'll show you.
Oh, we even had little labels printed.
Oh, yeah. We did the whole thing. So this was the Worttoberfest.
Oh, nice.
This is the only remaining closed can, I believe, right? Pete, do you have a closed can?
I do.
And by the way, Steve, like I said, it's not soft anymore. It's completely hard. So it probably continued to ferment in this thing. I imagine if I open this, it's going to explode on me. And then we did something, an homage to the three of us being hosts of the Wort. And this was a radically hopped American wheat. This was called 3 is a Magic Number.
Apparently it was too radically hopped.
Too radically
hopped, Paul. So that's our blunders, and I'm sure, Paul, you've had yours. So give us a little, like a worst case scenario that you had along the way here, of kind of what you went through over those early years.
Worst case scenario with the process, or worst case scenario with a beer that I was like, oh Christ, this is bad.
Yeah, it's the latter. The latter, because I don't want to feel as bad that we actually just brewed like very basic stuff. But I know when you get into some of the adjuncts that you use, I'm sure there's stuff that you're like, oh, this would be great, and then it turns out not so great. What was one of those instances?
I know there had to be something. It's been a while. I mean, I'm not saying I've always, knocking them out of the park, but what I would try to do would be with still having the little 10-gallon system before I do 93 gallons of something. I would try it out first. Like, it was a weird, different kind of recipe. Brewing with oysters, that was a learning curve.
Now, there's plenty of breweries that brew with oysters. Where does the oysters come in the process?
A lot of oyster stout actually just has oyster shell.
Okay. So it's like the grittiness, the earthiness of what's in
calcium.
There? Ah.
All oysters.
So what does that do? That change the pH balance of the water, or where do we use that, in the boil?
I didn't get as much as I thought. You get like this, if you say, hey, there's oysters in this, and you go, oh, let me think. Yeah, I think I catch something. I don't think it really, you get a little background, marine, minerally kind of thing.
Okay.
But
I've seen people brew with lobsters, too.
Yeah.
I've heard about that. I've never tried the lobster.
Like live lobsters? Like the lobsters are adding hops to the beer, or
yes, they're holding on to
hold it
to bags.
The bags in a little clip.
You just hold them up. Come on, drop it in.
I mean, that does sound
fun.
That does sound a lot more fun to brew with a lobster as like your brewing assistant.
No, I think they're actually doing the boil with the lobster, cooking the lobsters, and then using that then to start with the to create the wort.
Yeah,
Paul, if there were any shellfish you could have as a brewing assistant, what would that shellfish be?
And don't be shellfish about it.
But I'm just thinking lobster screaming as you put it into the boiling wort, which is, the oysters are less evolved, so they don't.
We hold them to such a high standard, but yet they're just the cockroaches of the sea.
They really are. Yeah, can you imagine would people really eat lobsters if in the kitchen when at the restaurant they hear them screaming as they're going into the boil?
John, run!
Is there anything else that someone like kills for you, like while you're waiting for your meal? Like, no one's like killing the chicken and you're like, you don't hear him chopping the head off the chicken.
Well,
5 minutes before it hits your fucking
some South
plate.
American countries maybe, but not up in here. Not up in here.
Not up in here.
No, definitely not. That's right.
There's the old school restaurants where they've got the lobster tank and you pick out the lobster.
Yeah.
I'll take that one. I think you're really having a great time enjoying.
I want him dead.
He looks so
guy
happy.
Right there. Dead.
He fucking looked at me sideways. You go back there and you kill that fucker and bring him up here.
that little red bastard, you put him in.
Yeah, exactly. That guy's having way too much fun. I hate my life. Kill him. It's screaming.
Not up in here.
There it is.
There you go.
Took me a minute to get the soundboard back up. By the way, Pete, just to give you a heads up, the recording never stopped, but we stopped streaming for your entire rant because I had to switch over.
That sounds like collusion.
Yeah,
that sounds like
there's Russian involvement with my Wi-Fi.
Fuckers.
Paul, I mean, like I said, you to us, you're one of the OGs. I have your brand printed on T-shirts I own from like 2006, 2008, not 2006, 2008, 2010. So it's been around a while. When did you first move into the space you guys are in now?
We moved in 2018. We finally opened June of 2019.
Wow.
We had some wastewater issues to work out. We thought was simple that weren't, but they got worked out. But it took better part of a year.
Was it licensing or was it mostly just sprucing up the space?
Not a problem. The state of New York has gotten terrific. When I first applied for my license, I got the federal license in 2007. Then I applied for the New York State license, and under the old previous administration, it took 11 months to get my state license.
Wow.
That's why it took me into 2008.
Was it a farm license or just a microbrew license? Microbrew license or farm license?
My original license was microbrew license.
Okay.
I had the farm brewing license a couple of years ago, and then I finally dropped the microbrew license. I'm just 100% farm brewer's license.
Ah, okay.
Nice.
Committed to using New York State ingredients. Every year, the percentage requirements go up. I try and write my recipes as close to 100% New York State ingredients as I can, so I don't have to keep reinventing the wheel.
Right.
But it was the New York State farm brewer's license that let us have this place, because
in addition to the production
brewery is still in the little building behind the house. The farm brewer's license that you have up to 5, but they call branch location.
I have questions about the IPA. It seems like malt forward, not bitter, but also not like a juice bomb either.
No. That's my take on an old-fashioned American IPA from, I don't know, picture year in the 90s kind of a thing. It's all Cascade hops. That's the Lucificus. It's all Cascade hops, but it's New York State grown Cascade hops.
Ooh.
I find
there you go.
Has a different character than the Pacific Northwest Cascade hops. Talking with a customer the other night, and the term he used was he found it harsher, but he didn't think harsher in a derogatory term. He just said that was just how he was getting it. So a little more assertive. So the term we came up with, it's like the Robert De Niro of hops. It's a little more assertive, a little more. Yeah.
It's different. It's not. It doesn't taste obviously like it's not like one of the like hazy. Nor does it taste like a West Coast IPA to me.
No, it's like an old-fashioned.
Yeah, I like it.
American IPA.
So is it primarily the Cascade hops that's in there, or what else are we using on there? I know we're into our second segment already, but that's fine. We could talk about it because I just opened it up. I was drinking something previous, and I want to, as you mentioned it, go, okay, now I want to taste that.
I like it. I like it a lot.
So, 100% New York State grown Cascade hops. They're grown up in the Finger Lakes, and it's all 100% New York State malt.
Oh yeah, I just saw that on there.
Yeah.
100% New York malt and Cascade hops.
Yep.
So I mean, that's got to be like a conscious effort then to start with the 100% as best you can, so that way when the percentages start going up, like you said, not reinventing the wheel. Is that what the big change was when you got that farm brewer's license? And previous to that, what were you doing? Were you getting still locally stuff, but not as much as the percentages?
I used local when I could. It's taken a number of years for New York State barley growers and malt houses to get up and running and kind of get on their game. Hops have been grown in New York State earlier, I think. I mean, some here on the island and upstate. And then, it takes a while for the farmers to learn. barley that's used for brewing is much different than barley that's used for feed, as it were.
Interesting.
They had to make those conversions.
Grow. It's really tough, and then finding the right varieties and to grow in New York State conditions. It was a big learning curve for everyone, and that was the whole point of the New York State Farm Brewers license, was not to help brewers. We got a carrot and stick, kind of
help farmers. Yeah.
But the commitment was to help farmers, mainly upstate farmers, because upstate economy is really hurt.
It's hurting even more now. But the Cascade, is that leaving the mouthfeel here on the back end? Is that what that is? The amount of resin and oils in that Cascade? Is that what's kind of unique to the New York State Cascade strain? Yeah. I mean, it's delicious. It's got a nice bright feel to it because I'm just coming off like a very bitter beer prior to this. So it's kind of a little exaggerated on the brightness, and then the mouthfeel is there, though. It's just much smoother than the one I previously had. Definitely probably should have had some water in between just to get the full. I know, Stephen. I know your Cicerone hands have gotten the hands on the water. So, I mean, it's like you said, strictly Cascade, nothing else, just single hop?
Single hop, all Cascade.
Yeah. I like Cascade as a hop itself. Have you used Cascade in any other of the brews that are on the lineup right now?
Nothing else right now. I mean, I've used it in the past. So, and then to answer your earlier question about before I had the New York State license, I was, classic European hops and malts. I had one beer in particular, my Hellgate, which is like a Belgian, sort of between a Belgian golden and a triple. And I was using malts from German environment. Fantastic, incredible malt. And again, the barley there is grown under different conditions. So that was the beer I had the most difficulty recreating using New York State. The characteristics of the malt, that was very much malt-forward beer. And then you also got the fermentation characteristics of the Belgian yeast and how it's coriander, but it really was about the backbone of it really was the malt that made it. And it took me a long time to finally recreate that, find a malt house that had a malt that was similar enough. And finally did that this year, but now that malt house is ceased production.
And which one?
Which one are you talking about yesterday?
Yeah. Which one are you using right now? Is it 1886 or are you using New York?
The one that hopefully is just temporarily ceased production. So I was really relying on their malt for a lot of the beers. There's also I've been using Hudson Valley malt.
Yep.
Doing a very small operation. He's doing traditional pour malting, which you would find like in the UK.
Yeah, over in Scotland when they were doing like whiskey and stuff like that, where they're just turning over the grain every so often. Yeah.
So,
managing humidity.
Very particular. It's not the big industrial kilns and drums and all that. He's doing the real old school floor malting. And when you get a sack of malt from him, he's written down the name of the farmer that the barley came from or the wheat came from, which is really cool.
That's cool.
But he's very small and it's hard to get. So,
right. What's the difference between, taste-wise, the 1886 or the Hudson Valley? What comes out more in some of those different malt builds?
I want to say what Dennis at 1886 is doing is with the floor malting, you get fuller, richer character. If that makes sense.
Oh.
Yeah. And then like Hudson's a little drier, you think?
I wouldn't say drier. I'm just saying that just the malt itself, you get a fuller, richer, rounder characteristic.
All right. I mean, we've talked to a bunch of brewers, here on Long Island that go to both of those that kind of pull from that. So I'm sure the demand is high on either one, but I'm sure 1886 because of the size, relatively supplies a lot more.
They were the biggest malt house in the state, and a lot of brewers were relying on them. And when they kind of all of a sudden went, radio silent.
What was the deal with that? Is there any background information on what happened?
There's rumors, and I wouldn't repeat any of them because I don't.
Well, we should get them on the show and really get down to business and find out the hard-hitting
They won't answer the phone.
Oh, no. Well, we're not a brewery. We don't want their malt. Maybe they will.
Well, then maybe they'll talk to you.
Yeah,
All right.
they will. They'll tell their side of the story. That's all we're here for. We're news gathering. We're just trying to get the info.
Your experience with that place where you did the brewing to bring down. You know, things happen. Things go south. We all make mistakes. What can make it better is some transparency and just say, like, really sorry. This is what went wrong. Don't necessarily have to give all the details.
Right.
We're working on it, and this is our plan forward. But when it's just like, you know,
they ghosted everybody.
It makes it tougher to come back too, and for a customer to have faith in their business. Yeah.
Well, what they'll probably do is first and foremost rebrand, because that's the way to just kind of forget about the past. Put some new ownership in there, even though there's probably same management or something like that. And, you know, kind of say, like, this is a brand new thing. We took over the business kind of idea, and we're still going to provide whatever it is that we provide to the population. And so what else are people going to? I know Hudson Valley Malt is there, but what else is on in New York State that you can go to?
Malt, Pioneer Malt. There's a couple of other maltsters that reached out to, but all these smaller malt houses are now inundated by all these.
Yep.
Throughout New York State, I couldn't tell you the number, but there are an increasing number of New York State farm breweries that need now, especially now, because the percentage has gone up of the requirement. You need to use a higher percentage than you used to. So all these small malt houses are like, I don't know if I can get you anything.
Where do you think that's going? Do you think that they'll have to cap the percentages that keep going up? They'll think they'll pause it just because of the lack of availability?
In the original legislation, the way it was fit, there is a clause that, act God, crop failures or et cetera,
right,
that there's a potential way around it. But I don't
roll that back if
invoke it or what the actual,
You think they can blame COVID for that too? They think they can blame COVID for that as well.
Why not?
I mean, we're blaming it for everything else.
Yeah, pretty
right?
much. But I mean, the sheer fact that people are home drinking and the demand is very high, and there was a big player that's now not in play anymore. That's got to be something to be said when it's brought up to the legislator that something is going down.
Yeah, and now I'm rethinking, like, okay, I gave up my microbrewer's license. If I had that license, I could still be using other malts.
Could you get it? What?
But I would not be able to serve them here in my little.
Could
you?
God damn! All these little fucking rules.
Sell it to other places, but
Yeah.
the problem with places is restaurants and bars are hurting. The ones that are open. Well, Steve, you may remember, even in good times, will they pay you for the beer delivered? How long does it take to get them to finally pay you?
Right. Exactly. And on top of it, where's the audience now? I mean, where have they gone to? What's the trend? What's the flow or I don't want to say trend because there's no real trend right now, but it's kind of like you got to pinpoint where that is so you can correctly market and do what you need to do. What would it take for you to get your microbrewer's license back?
I'd have to fill out an application, write them a check, and it probably wouldn't take that long. To be honest.
I mean, it gets to that point where that's the next step. I mean, to carry that. But then could you sell that beer to go at your place? No.
Couldn't have it like in pre-packed cans or anything.
I could go back to farmers markets.
Yeah.
Door to door to bars, restaurants, and beer distributors. They're all hurting.
Yeah.
So I just make more crepes.
And that really,
Crafts.
that really brings me to the next point, because Blind Bat Brewery isn't just a brewery. I mean, it's Blind Bat Brewery and Bistro. So tell us where the shift headed and kind of where you're at now with the food element of the brewery.
Well, as I mentioned, my original idea, notion was food and beer, and then I dismissed that. And many years trying to find and secure and open up a location, a number of things didn't work out. And then this location here in Centerport happening to be like a short walk from my house. I'm right in my own hometown, like Dorothy, after all that. But the town of Hudson would not allow me to open up a brewery and tasting room here. They said you can have a small restaurant and serve. I was like, okay, I'll do that.
So do you have a full kitchen in there, or are you just doing prepackaged, or what is it?
It's mostly handheld type of foods, burgers and whatnot.
Knishes.
Knishes. I got to make it. I'm thinking like beer friendly handheld stuff. But and that's the funny thing here in the neighborhood. We have a lot of people that just come here for food. They use a lot of takeout. We got a lot of takeout orders. The burgers have really taken off. We use really good quality meat, and we just kind of do some fun things with it, so people like it.
So are you sourcing meat also, local New York State ingredients?
Damn it, Red, that was my goddamn question. Where's
the food coming from?
That's it.
Sorry, I didn't mean to head you off the path.
Where are you sourcing a lot of the ingredients for the food at the bistro, Paul?
Well done.
There's a purveyor that you may have seen him in some supermarkets called D'Artagnan.
Okay.
Down with them. They deal with small farms and ranches, so all the meat is sustainably raised, grass-fed, Angus, no growth hormones, no antibiotics. They're not part of the industrial food chain, so the ingredients are a little more expensive, but they are not only are they better for you, but they taste better. It's like so that's basically what we're getting. That's all that.
But if I wanted some bacon that was from an abused pig, like this was a really shitty pig in life, and I wanted them to
the real salty shit.
So Oscar Mayer.
Oscar is literally personally going through and slapping every pig in the ass.
That's right.
Every single day.
But yeah, no, it's heritage. The pork bacon is heritage breed. We have duck bacon.
Oh, love duck bacon. Oh.
I have not had it, but I'm very curious now.
It's bacon cooked in duck fat, correct? It's so delicious, Pete. You got to get your hands on some of this. And just get duck fat in general to cook with, because you're a connoisseur of the foods.
I've had duck fat French fries.
Yes.
It's as good as it sounds.
It is delicious.
There's a restaurant in Portland, Maine that's
I was there.
Duck fat. Yeah.
I was there.
Duck fat. That's the fucking name of the restaurant.
And the best part about it was we get up in our hotel room and I look out the window and I'm like, that's the fucking restaurant. I could see it from my window, drooling, licking the glass. And you know what? It was everything I thought it would be.
Were you like that?
A lot of good restaurants in Portland. I had a great time when I went up there.
Yeah.
I got to get back there.
Steve, were you like that meme of Andrew Cuomo looking into people's houses?
Yes.
About 10 people or more? Dude, I laugh every time. Every time. There was a picture of... I
haven't seen that yet.
There's a local restaurant here in Lyndhurst that they have partitions along the bar.
Yes.
And every partition has... just this.
A cutout of Cuomo?
Just a sticker on the glass of Cuomo looking at you with his big googly eyes. It's hysterical.
That's fucking great.
It made me laugh so hard. I was sitting on my couch last night just scrolling through and I went, this is the best thing ever. I want it on my car. I want it in my classroom so the kids know. And I'll just point to it. I'll be like, dude, Andrew Cuomo's watching you. Stop it. Just stop it. The governor is watching.
That's perfect.
Listen, I'm in quarantine, so I can't partake in anything. I am completely locked down until December. But I can imagine people being, really offended by that. On top of it, though, stuff is getting real. So everyone, let's try to do the best we can here to allow everything to continue to keep operating. Because, Paul, you opened in July of 2019. This has been probably the shittiest 10 months possibly. How has the business been going through all of this? What has been working? What hasn't been working? What have you adopted to? What have you fixed to make work now?
We're fortunately we're hanging in. I think we're doing better than some. We're not doing the business we had anticipated. At this point, I was hoping to finally quit the 4 hours a day I'm working still part time, but I'm fortunate to have that still.
Yeah. I was gonna say that could have gone away, but good for you. You still got that.
But it's become Fortunately, because we're so small, our overhead is lower than like I think about these big places. My heart breaks for them.
Yeah.
We're also already geared up for takeout because we were 16-seat restaurant, and we were never going to fit more than.
You can't make your money on full restaurants, full tables.
But
sure.
at the same time, I mean the
Stuff that can be packaged up easily to go.
right.
So people come in, they grab a couple cans or get a growler, food, and go. They call now. Well, since March, people would call up. We bring it out curbside, bring it to them. I still have some older clientele that they're so nervous about coming inside, bringing it out to the car. So it's just some of this type of business, some of that, and just multiple ways of trying to make it happen. We were fortunate to be able to, the town let us take over 2 parking spots right in front. We have a heater, but it's just dark and cold and it's wet, and nobody wants to be out there.
I think that's one of the good things about businesses like yours. I mean, as much as you have adopted the awfulness of what it is, it works because, like you said, you have a small overhead. You have already prepackaged food to go. You have beer to go. At this point, you're basically geared for quarantine and COVID.
Yeah.
You were built to survive this sort of moment in time. So I'm really glad that's the case. That's really helpful to be that kind of business model. When things open back up, do you see yourself changing it back a little bit, or what would be the future looking at, things that you can do differently or things that you'd want to do differently?
I think like anything else, you can plan for what you want to do, but you have to adapt to whatever the circumstances are. So we're just going to take it as it comes. I mean, nobody really knows. Yes, it's very encouraging that there's these vaccines that there is news of with high, supposed success rates, but have they tested on enough people to really know when is those vaccines really going to get out to everybody? And as we know, a lot of people won't even take them. So, we just have to hope for the best, plan for the worst, and adapt to each day as it comes. Adapt and overcome.
I think, Paul, the reason for that is a lot of people have seen that Will Smith movie, I Am Legend. And they're a little reluctant to take something that's untested.
I actually signed up for the trial.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, through Northrop Langoon, which was Winthrop.
Yeah.
And I signed up for it. They're supposed to get back to me whether they could use me or not. And
we talked about the other night. That's not specific to any pharmaceutical company, right? It's whoever Langone Health can partner with to perform the study.
And you could be part of the placebo part, right? So you would never even know.
There are 3 levels. The first level is it's only a couple of hundred people, and they're actually testing to see whether it works.
Okay.
Then the second one is dosing. They see if, all right, it's working, but what is the right dosage to give people?
Okay.
And then the final one, which is a broad scan of about 10,000 people, is looking for just some side effects.
Right. So when you have diarrhea and your left eye is bleeding severely, I'll take that over COVID.
But I don't have COVID.
Right. Yeah. But you have diarrhea, but we all have diarrhea every now and then.
Well, Steve being Polish, you probably get diarrhea from the placebo.
Yes.
It's just water, and you get diarrhea.
I don't feel good. It's killing me.
That's interesting enough that you guys are able to joke like that. Steve, what was your first kind of dealings with Paul? And as your brewery started up, Paul was here for a little bit. What was the first kind of intermingling within the background brewers, green room and all these beer fests and all these places? How did that relationship start?
I want to intermingle with this fucking Weizenbach.
Wow.
Delicious.
Yes.
That's my next one, by the way.
I started off with the Weizenbach because I'm like, I got to have it. So
it's very good. I really,
Paul and I go back a long ways. I remember being at it was out in Rocky Point, and it was like one of the first or second Rocky Point Artisan Cast Fest, and it was in, what the hell's the place? Yes.
Restaurant, yes.
And it was only like a couple of breweries that were, Paulie was the only one that was actually licensed to brew, and then it was Port Jeff and myself. And like I had people come over, go, hey, I own a bar. I'm like, don't talk to me yet. Talk to the man at the end. Talk to Paul. He's
been
a brewery.
doing it.
He does this professionally. We're getting there, but I leaned on Paul so many times for questions, and he never once wavered. He tried to help me as much as possible. And I just wish he would have said, don't do it. He never said that to me. But
I'm sorry.
But yeah, we kind of hit it off, and again, I would just question after question. He never once, not even would get like, just leave me alone, or would just ghost me for a little bit. It was always like, hey, try this, go here, use this, call this. So I actually tried to do that down the road. I tried to pay that back, and hopefully I did with a bunch of brewers.
Hold on, we have breaking news. We getting a report in from one of our correspondents in the field. Anthony
Did Hopsters in Boston Seaport burn down?
No.
What a goddamn shame. All right, I was hopeful there for a minute. Sorry.
We have our reporter in the field, Anthony Graziday, says that it's been reported that Steve has grown a third ball from these COVID trials. I'm just going to let you know that
I haven't even started with them yet.
Right. Well. Either way,
that's how bad they are.
That's how
it's just
terrible
a thought that I already grew a third ball. If you look on my back, I got a nubbin. So
it's nothing but tracking on the taint. That's it. Just like farm tracking, like a backhoe. There's been like trying to get the gold from the bedrock kind of tracking. Paul, what about you? What was your first experience with Steve? Were you turned off, turned on?
He hated me, especially when he found out I was a Polak.
Yeah, no, Steve was always, I mean, to know Steve is to love Steve. I mean, that is true. I think anybody who has ever had any interactions with Steve. So, I felt very fortunate to get to know him. I mean, and I know he's definitely passed it on, because as far as, that's the community at its best is, it's a friendly competition. It's not an antagonistic competition. Everybody wants everybody to, for the most part, everybody wants everybody to succeed. What did Sam Calagione say? The craft brewery community is 99% asshole free.
Yep. Now it's about 97.5.
Yeah, there's slight
trending in the wrong direction.
Yeah, a little bit.
Still, the numbers on the asshole tracking app that I've been watching have been pretty good for the last few months.
Obviously, Steve's a great guy, and he's a funny guy, and he's a creative guy, and he's one of the best brewers I've ever known.
Thank you, Paulie.
Oh, there you go. What a nice thing. I was going to say, for the most part, it feels like over the last, decade or so that craft brewers have learned from their successors, right? I mean, so, like Steve said, asking you questions, finding out, picking your brain, and I'm sure Steve can attest to many, many, many people in the industry asking him the same questions now, and then those people that are established from those questions are being asked from even the newer generation. That's what I'm saying. Going back to like Gen 1, you were one of the ones, the first nano here on Long Island that really started the trend of having that small spot, such a cult following at the farmers market, such a huge difference from, even Blue Point having things like toasted lager, but then you're doing a basil beer that just people are like, duh.
This is, and I got to ask him now, are you going to do Vlad the Inhaler?
And there it is. And there's the one I was getting to.
One. The first time I drank that beer,
I was I tell you where I was at. I was at the Great South Bay Festival.
Fuck?
You had it at the Great South Bay Festival, and I forget which one it was. The one with the gray shirt. I remember by the apparel, because I bought one every year. That was the one where I went, oh, what the fuck is this? And there were other breweries at that time out doing some stuff differently. That one that I had at at Brewfest was, for me, one of the ones that really put you on the map for me. And then I started really paying attention. What is Vladian? Tell the audience what is that, so people get an idea.
Being of half Polish heritage, that was a real passion project, because I had read about this obscure style that had pretty much died out even in Poland, called Bruzicki. Brewers Association tried to call it a Gratzer, but then we pushed back on that. It's Bruzicki again. It's basically a smoked wheat beer.
Ooh.
And it's unlike other wheat beers, like a Hefeweizen is like at most 50% wheat, 50% barley. This is 100% wheat if you do it the traditional way. I had a problem with the Treasury Department.
I remember this. Remember you telling me this story, bro.
Wait. What?
Yeah, because you have to get label approval from the feds for anything that you put out.
So like bottle labels you're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And if it looks like something's weird about it, they'll say, well, we need to see. They call it a formula, a recipe.
Okay.
So I had to submit the recipe, and it was all wheat brewed over. I was smoked over oak, which I would smoke at the brewery.
Huh.
What's weird about that?
Well,
Like,
here it
why?
comes.
Why?
Here's the part that gets a little.
Yeah. So anyway, so I got a phone call from a gentleman from the Treasury Department with a very deep, ominous voice, and he said, "We got a problem." And I'm thinking, "Oh, what did I do? What didn't I do? I go to jail. What happened?" But the problem is the federal definition of beer is that it contains barley and hops.
Mm-hmm.
I had no barley in that beer. So I said, "So how much barley do I need to in there?" He goes, "Just enough."
What does that mean?
Did you salt bay it in? You just sprinkle it in?
Salt bay.
Right. Probably,
that's it.
Basically, all I did was I had 200 pounds of wheat and one pound bag from the home Sharps in East Northwood of Munich malt. I cut that open and put that in. Just put in one or two little grains of barley and be good.
There you go, Treasury Department. Take that.
Yeah, because I think originally the label said 100% wheat, and they were like, "Wait a minute."
Yeah.
So why would the Treasury Department have something to say about that?
TTB.
Yeah, the TTB is part of the Treasury Department. TTB being Tax and Trade Bureau, used to be alcohol, firearms, and
it's the umbrella
the
of all
Department
those
of
other
Fun.
things.
Yeah.
Right. Alcohol, tobacco, and firearms. AKA the Department of
All
Fun.
of which sounds fantastic, by the way. I love the name.
It's
of
actually
that.
now alcohol, tobacco, firearms, and explosives.
Boom.
Yeah.
So the fun keeps going.
Just keeps going. Next thing, I can't wait till they do something else. And what would be the next thing? Nukes. No, well that's
Marijuana.
it. Yeah, that's going to be in there. Well, that's part of the FDA, I guess, Food and Drug Administration. But they'll mesh that.
You can hope.
Food, alcohol, firearms, explosives, and drugs. Boom.
Maybe
Sounds like my Saturday
things
night.
that get you high or go boom.
Or at the same time. That's fine.
So yeah, to answer Steve's question, I'm planning on bringing it again next year. I haven't burned in a long time because it's a lot. Because I'm smoking all the wheat myself.
Yep.
Yeah, you are.
That sounds labor intensive.
So
how does that work?
That's
So
also not something we find a lot on the island. Small brewers doing smoking malts.
Nobody does a beer like that.
What's the
on
process
this
of
island.
what's the process of smoking that? Is it in a kiln? Is it like a Dutch pizza oven? I'm serious. How is that working?
Yeah, so if you picture like one of those like smokers that looks like a locker, a big rectangular thing.
Right, yeah.
Okay.
And then I've got stainless steel mesh baskets, and I put the barley or the wheat in there and put some wood in there and light it up.
And what are you using for incendiary? Are you using coal? Are you using wood? What kind of wood? If that?
And then there'll be different woods. Like the Vlad the Inhaler, I use oak.
Okay.
The Hell Smoke, which you may be trying a little bit later, I used to use a combination of applewood and alderwood, but I switched to applewood. Old Wort is a wheat beer. I smoked some of the wheat over the heat, but it's just a little bit of the wheat is smoked, so it's probably the least smoky beer that I do.
Huh.
I took a brown ale. I smoked some of the barley over hickory. So.
And how would this differ from like a Rauch beer? I'm probably butchering that. Is a smoked beer, right? How does that differ from these that you're doing?
Similar concept, but if you're going to go according to style guidelines, a German Rauch beer is typically beechwood.
Ah.
So it's just the type of wood that you like.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
So-
you can buy smoked grains, malt. You can, but he's actually doing it himself.
Yeah.
To get the flavor that he's looking to impart. And that's why that Vlad the Inhaler, I mean, I still remember the very first time I had it. I'm like, Jesus Christ, I'm drinking liquid bacon or kielbasa. It was just, and then we did that radio show. We did the radio show, WHEM.
Yeah.
And we were there with, before Pat Gator had opened up North Fork Bacon. And
I'm sorry. Back up.
Yeah, are you citing
North Fork Bacon? I need more information.
Well, it's closed. It was a barbecue place out east, like I want to say by Miller Place, towards the Hamptons. And Pat Gator he had a great barbecue place, and he came into. We did a radio show. Anthony, WHEM. HEM.
Hammer back.
And he had us on. It was me, Paul, Pat from North Fork Bacon, and Dave Schultzer, Bellport Dave.
Hey, Dave's cold beer and
soda.
And Pat whips out this griddle and starts cooking bacon. And one of it was duck bacon. So he had duck bacon, he had regular, and it was unbelievable. And of course, Paul brings Vlad the Inhaler. And I'm putting the bacon in the beer. I'm just drinking it like that. I'm like, this is heaven for me.
Like a Bloody Mary. You should have brought like skewered shrimp, garlic shrimp.
It was. So then what happens? There's another company that's there that's doing like organic bagels. So what do? We take the bagels, cut them, and put them in the bacon fat and put them on the grill. It was.
I imagine all of that making me have diarrhea the next day, but still enjoying it
being
all.
totally worth it.
Absolutely.
It was so worth it.
Absolutely. And then my wife is asking me.
Aren't you embarrassed?
Yeah, I would be embarrassed.
No,
I would be though.
No.
Wow.
So good.
That all sounds delicious. Is the smoking process though? Does that kind of take away from the brewing process at all? Or I mean, I guess in time, I'm saying, not in taste, but in time. What is the time period that you're smoking the barley or the wheat?
It's pretty much the better part of a day.
Yeah.
If I get going and are done. But yeah, so that's why I haven't done the Vlad in a while, because it's not just one more thing to do, but with Vlad being that I need to smoke all of the wheat.
All the malt.
I just have to decide a day to get it done.
I mean, you would have
So
to have
like
a big enough
for a
smoker.
3-barrel batch of that, like how many pounds of wheat is that?
I think it's like close to 200. Yeah.
Wow.
And in your smoker, how many pounds of malt can you smoke?
Like 7.
Jesus Christ. Okay. No, that makes sense. That all. Yeah.
The better part of a day. I mean,
That sounds like a once-a-year beer.
what's the length of smoke? What's the length of time that each batch is sitting in the smoker?
A couple of hours, and another thing is this part's hard to dial in is the humidity of the day. It changed the quality of
And it's based on what you're saying. Like if you have 200 pounds of wheat, and you can only do like that's not something you can do in one day either. Like that's you have to plan for like a week to fucking smoke all that.
That's
wheat.
what I was getting at. That's a
Yeah.
tremendous amount of time into the brewing process to the pre-production that's involved before you even get to actually brewing.
Before you even turn the fucking kettle on.
the day job, but don't feel good.
It's a call-in. It's like, man.
Yeah, I got a cough from the smoke. I mean,
yeah.
They just hear it raging in the background. What's that sound? Is your house on fire? Nah, that's good. I'm good. The thing that I've known you for is that smoke. Every time that I associate a smoked beer, I think of you. I really do. From Vlad to some of the other ones, like the smoked porter that we have tonight. It's one of the things that you're known for. Was that a conscious effort to kind of say, I like the idea of smoked beers?
Yeah, just because I like it.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't a business decision. It wasn't like, oh, I think a great market opportunity because there's 0.3% people who like smoked beers, so I'm going to get that niche.
I remember having conversations with Paul about the beer because I love that beer so much. I was like, and he's like, oh no, you'd be surprised. People are like, what is this? This is the most god awful thing I ever drank in my life. This is horrendous. Why would you make it? I'm like, you kidding me? This is like heaven. This is
everybody likes everything. So
Peter, I can see. I just had my first taste of the Weizenbach.
Fucking good, right?
Holy shit!
Yeah.
Holy shit!
Yep.
I know Peter's.
We actually said it yesterday. Pete looked at me. He was like, "Holy shit, this Weizenbach is really." I'm like, "Yep."
That is, yeah. I mean, you want to lob a 20-foot arc over the plate for Pete? That is the one. That is the one that he's probably kicking himself right now. They didn't take an entire 4-pack home over this because it's good.
I like it. Well,
really, really good. Why?
So I have to go there again. That's all.
Yeah. When I get out of quarantine, we'll take a North Shore trip. We got plenty of places to hit up. Talk to me about the process of this Weizenbach because I'm having this style from you for the first time. What goes into creating this? And I would say it's a traditional German style, correct? Yeah, so what went into this process?
Well, it's your first time drinking it. This is the first time I ever brewed this style.
Oh, shit. Are you kidding me?
No. So
wow.
I tried some different things this year. I never brewed any Bach beers, so I began the year with a double Bach. Then in the warmer months, I had a Helles Bach, and I thought a Weizenbach for the fall would be nice. So
yes, it is.
It's basically, the shorthand I give people in when they come in to try it and they're not familiar with the style is I say, do you know what a Hefeweizen is? So, yeah. So it's kind of like a maltier, higher alcohol, fuller bodied Hefeweizen. That's the shorthand, really.
Right.
And then the brewing process is straightforward. There's a good amount of wheat. So like any beer that has a good percentage of wheat, you want to put rice hulls in there, which don't add anything flavor-wise, but it helps with you don't want what they call a stuffed mash, where things can get all kind of gummy and then the liquid doesn't really flow through into the brew kettle. So otherwise, you just and then you just ferment it at the proper temperature and keep the yeast happy, and then the yeast will give you something.
What are we using? Any German style hops? Are we using noble hops? What's going into that?
Hops on this one were New York State grown, but a Pearl, P-E-R-L-E is the variety, which is sort of like a German variety, but it was grown upstate.
Yeah, we see that in a lot of German styles.
If it's grown here, is it still considered a noble hop?
I guess if the strain is there.
The strain would be considered noble.
I'm a peasant. I don't really want for the noble.
We can only get. Sir, may I have some more noble hops? No, it's
impressed.
Yes, please, please, sir.
Come and see the violent inherent in the system. Come and see the violence inherent in the system.
Yep.
Gets the reference.
I done in a holy grail, baby.
I mean, I wish I need some more of those on my soundboard because I have a lot of current stuff. But there's so much stuff that I know in my back of my brain associate Bach with a higher alcohol percentage as opposed to Hefeweizen. So the Bach element, matches, was it 7.8, 7, somewhere in there?
7.8.
Yeah. And so then it's just a matter of just using the German style ingredients to kind of match the flavor profile.
Right. And again, all New York State grown, it's a Pilsner malt, which is how
that's what I was going to ask, yeah.
Kiln the malt, so how they'll and again, New York State malt houses got better at it, and unfortunately, this is 1886, so I got to find another.
Oh, balls!
I wanted to ask you, Paul. You used any Long Island hops?
Years ago, I used what's his name? Wading River.
Anzella?
Yeah, Canzella. Yeah, I did. I just haven't reached. I haven't done good business reaching out with the different hop growers on the island. So.
Do the guys, and maybe you guys can add to this, do the guys on Long Island have a reputation for growing hops that would traditionally, have the flavor profile for those types of things?
Well, it depends. It's funny. Like Canzella's been the one that's been around the longest, hop farms, and he was like the first one to bring an actual hop harvester to Long Island. Actually, he had done a Kickstarter, and I had given to it because I wanted him to, do this because he could pelletize it, and instead of sitting out in the field for days trying to harvest the hops, it would one day, and he could harvest, acres and acres. But he was doing traditional. He was doing Cascade and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Some of the other guys like 27A, not 27A,
Hemp
27
Farm.
Hop Farm.
Yep.
Well,
now the Hemp Farm.
Route 27A.
Route
27.
27 Hop and Hemp Farm.
There you go.
They were doing some bunch of different hop varieties other than Cascade and Centennial and Fuggle. They were doing.
Whoa,
some
watch
other...
your language, sir.
That's right, Fuggle. But there's a few other farms out east, North Fork, and they're growing their own hops, and nobody not a lot of people realize, but way back when before Prohibition, New York State was the #1 producer of hops in the United States.
Yes.
They still find wild hops growing in like farmland that's been abandoned, and they don't know what variety they are, but they're prevalent. And before Prohibition, there were 200 breweries just in New York City alone. Yeah. So,
well, one of the things we learned when we were talking to our buddy Beer Practice is when he did his show on what was it? It was
PBS.
PBS is brewed in New York.
Matt Archambault.
I know it's Matt Archambault, but I was just calling out his Instagram handle so everyone got it.
Because
we are now going live on Instagram for a little bit. Basically, what we found is that there are so much rich history involved with New York State and the brewing process between the malt, the hops, and everything else, that it's such a huge, long-standing tradition to have that stuff in New York. That's what really kind of got me, interested in a little more of looking into how New York State really does kind of help supply a lot of what's going on and allow the governor to then put in these regulations for farm licensing and things like that, because there was such a very large history and re-earth. We were talking to him. He was discussing how they were going to these places in the back of like a shed and finding like these hops that were just wildly growing up in New York State, and finding that these things are linked to some of the same genus or species of stuff that's growing out on the West Coast. It's crazy what was going on up in New York State for a long time. Sorry, that's all I had to say.
No, so good.
The prevalent hop that was grown back pre-Prohibition up in New York was, and a lot of these wild hops that kind of mutated are mutations of cluster, but they've taken on much different characteristics.
Yeah. I mean, over time, obviously, wildly grown is going to take on a different flavor profile and things like that. But I mean, just the tradition of it, we probably should really go back and revisit what what was there. We could probably get back to this traditional New York State only thing. And I think that would help out your farm license too, to have ingredients that would allow you to then brew at 100% and continue to brew at 100% and still have the taste profile that people in New York State would enjoy.
It's interesting too. I think it's right now, and it's been for a while, it's the malt that's the hard thing. Hops are kind of been around for a little while.
Yeah.
Hop farmers upstate in the Hudson Valley, and now they're better at packaging. Now they're, instead of fresh hops, now they're pelletizing and flushing them with nitrogen, and so they last a little longer.
Yeah.
I don't
almost
think
like freeze
hops
drying,
are a
right?
big
I mean, it's pretty
problem.
much like a freeze drying of it.
Oh, nitrogen is better than trying to like put CO2 in it or anything like that. It flushes anything out that might degrade the hop, where it would lose some of its luster, so to speak. And then vacuum seal them.
The advantage that the hop growers have had is it's basically a vertical crop.
Yeah.
So the amount of land that you need versus growing barley or wheat, which is all, you need acres and acres and acres. You can have a relatively, a couple of acres, 3 acres of a hop yard.
Yep.
Because everything is so going up like 15 feet up into the air, at least, you've got, you can maximize the land as far as, how much land you're dedicating to that one crop.
Yeah, because it's vertical instead of horizontal kind of growing. So,
hey, Paul, you know what? We've never had this discussion before, and I usually ask this question every show. Yes, it's do you have any naked pictures of me still? And can I have them back?
Paul, shaved or unshaved? I inquiring minds want to know.
What questions are? It's a 3-part question. First one is, what is the beer that got you into craft beer, drinking craft beer? What was that one beer you had back when that you said, "Oh my God, what is this?" 2 is, what's your favorite style that you like to drink?
Yeah.
And then the third part is, what is the beer that you would drink now, other than something you brew? What would you drink?
What, you want to write those down really quick? Because he asks a lot of questions at once.
Do you have the Jeopardy theme song on the soundboard?
No, but I have this just to kind of show like that's a lot of questions.
I did not like beer growing up.
It's not gonna work.
Budweiser. I was working in New York City in the 80s and went out with a bunch of people, and it was like, okay, I guess I got to get a beer. Oh boy. But they had a neon in the window for Anchor Steam.
Nice.
I like the Anchor because I like Popeye. So that and I had the first sip of Anchor Steam, and that was the veil is lifted, and oh my God, what is this kind of? And I've been fortunate to have Anchor Steam in San Francisco where it's fresher. My memory of it is when I first have it. Whenever I have it, I don't think it gets it's shipping and all that across the country and the way it's packed. I don't think it does it justice. But anyway, maybe just being on draft was better too. Anyway, but that was amazing. The second question was what?
What's your favorite style?
Oh, favorite style? I don't know if I have a. It depends on my mood. What's going on? It's like, what's your favorite food? Okay, well, I like sushi, but I also like pizza. So, how do you pick? What are you in the mood for?
What's your favorite summer beer then?
Summer beer? I've gotten into Berliner Weiss this past year.
Oh, yes.
Popularity.
Because I finally brewed one, and I was like, oh, I actually like this. I think in the summertime, the Berliner, yeah.
I love a good fruited tart beer. That's for sure.
We fucking know you do.
I know.
Your goddamn sour IPAs.
Yes.
I was going to get you the fruit beer, fruit bat that Paulie does, and we wound up just getting the same beers. So
That's all right.
Listen, like I said, to me, the sours, the fruits are like the summer thing. I'm now into darker beers. I loaded up on my black IPAs and my porters and stuff like that. That's what I'm into right now. Same thing like Paul. My tastes have now varied with the seasons. It's just the way I guess the Northeast is with the changing of the seasons. I associate good dark beers as the tide changes, and it works for me very well.
Yeah.
And the last question was, what other than your own beer, what would your if you had the choice to have a beer right now?
Hold on. Before you answer that, we're getting a communique via Instagram. Jordan329 says, hops were such a big New York State money crop in the early 19th century. He actually has a picture of a historical marker of what it was. I guess he has some information. So Jordan 329. Go ahead
That's Jordan Romano.
Oh, there you go. Jordan Romano. What's up, buddy? Do me a
Jordan
favor.
is actually we ran into him yesterday
at Sand City.
Yeah,
right.
Sand City.
He's actually the brand ambassador for Harborhead now.
There you go. Love the boys over at Harbor. Will and
Brewed IPA, the things.
We'll just say Will, not Dave anymore. But Will is a good friend of the show, man. He's always been a big proponent of our show. But basically, if you have any of those pictures, send them over to me. We'll post them and throw them up there. So take a picture and send up. Sorry. Go ahead, Paul.
Jordan is a big history guy.
Yes.
That's awesome. I love history of Long Island and New York State in general. I seek that out. As a teacher of audio production, one of the things I really love talking about is how Tesla and Marconi had such big hopes for what was going on. When we talked to Jamie over at St. James and we went into history, I think we spent an hour just on history because I just love talking about those kind of nostalgic things that happen here on Long Island. Such rich history. We, as an American nation, we don't have the history that like Europe has. When you go over to Europe, everything is fucking old as shit. But here in America, we got to like hold on to like the last 50 to 70 years because it's just so important to us. And when he talks about ships that sunk, or when we have people traveling out on Long Island Railroad to arrest people from the German intelligence in World War II. It's just freaking cool to me, man. I love that kind of stuff.
Okay, Paul, so what's the beer you would go to?
You guys don't like history? That's a dick move.
Yeah. I feel terrible. I'm drawing a blank on the name of the brewery. There's a smoked doppelbock from Germany, which... if I had like one, if I knew I was dying and I could have one beer, I would do that before I go.
That's a good way of looking at it.
I like it.
The Amagassett Saboteurs. Look at Jordan coming in with the fucking real deal history shit.
Jordan, if you're ever seen, Jordan will post, you see those markers, those historical markers on the island. He'll go there and he'll like write a whole thing about.
That's fucking cool.
Hey, this is what the fuck happened. This is real shit. This is
that. Listen, I'm already a huge fan of Jordan R329 on Instagram. So thank you very much, Jordan. Because you and I are going to just discuss local history like a bunch of nerds for a long time.
And Jordan's a beer whore.
Oh.
He loves craft beer, man.
Cool. We'll keep him in the loop from now on. Maybe we'll have him on the show one day when we're talking real, beer and history. We'll get him back on.
In a previous life, I was a cartoonist, and I did a weekly cartoon about Long Island history.
Get out of here. Did you? What publication did you do it for?
It was like these weekly papers that were published. All of them were published out of Mineola, like Garden City, whatever this, and the Plainview that. It was like these little weekly papers.
That's pretty cool.
My wife worked there about a decade ago. God, it starts with an A. I don't know. Anton Publishing.
Wow.
Yes.
That's pretty cool. There's a good tie-in. Nicely done.
I just have to drop her off there every Monday.
DWI or just?
Yeah, no, Terry's huge lush.
So about that.
Now, Paul, also, I meant to ask you yesterday, is Regina still growing a good amount of, the vegetables and a lot of I know she was doing basil and parsley and all that for the shop. She's still doing that?
But she's growing a lot of the herbs that we use to cook with, and some of that ends up in the beer as well, like the basil.
That's fucking cool.
She doesn't really have a lot of land to grow on these days.
Yeah.
At one point, but we, as far as bigger things, like when I need sweet potatoes or potatoes with a potato stout, we've lately been dealing with Dan and Carolyn Fanning. They're in Bethpage. It's not part of the old Bethpage Restoration Village where people dress up old timey.
Yep.
But it's to that they've got an organic farm and farm stand and CSA, and they're great people, and they grow everything organic and delicious, and
cool.
We've been getting the bigger stuff that we need.
I'm pretty familiar with that. My one of the teachers in my building that does photography goes up to old Bethpage Restoration Village, and they're able to get, obviously the traditional historic pictures, but then they actually travel out to the area farms in the local area to take really cool shots and stuff like that of the local land. And it's a freaking cool concept that they have going on out there. It's like Bethpage, Nassau County, built up, kind of urban to suburban area. And here you are having potato farms. Here you are having local ingredients being grown in mass quantities for local distribution. It's really very cool.
Nassau County used to be they used to call them truck farms because they would grow cabbages and potatoes and then truck them into the city. All of Levittown was potato fields, back in the day.
Yeah, I had a buddy that grew up in Levittown and had a bunch of, he thought it was weeds in his backyard. Meanwhile, it was
aliens?
Not aliens, potato seeds, stuff that would still grow, year after year. It was not annuals, perennials that would keep growing. So like the seeds they would cut down, I guess it would then germinate in the ground, and then the following year there'd be more. And he's like, I can't get rid of these things. And meanwhile, he'd pull them up, late October, and all of a sudden it's fucking potatoes. It's crazy.
That's cool.
Yeah, no, it was all potato fields. In fact, I grew up in Levittown. The street I grew up in was Russet Lane. So
that tells you all you need to know right there.
He was over on Region, just so you know. Region.
Out there, in the R section, they got creative. Everything was named Raspberry, Return, Region, Russet. I got Russet. But
it's freaking crazy how no matter what, nature is going to come back and take over. Even if we're all gone and we're all dissipated.
Yep.
Through whatever means necessary, the potatoes, the weeds, everything is going to just take over. The potatoes, the hops, the naturally wild hops are just everything's going to overgrown, and all of a sudden we have back to very easily locally sourced information or vegetables for that matter.
Locally sourced. Yeah, we have. In fact, again, Regina, we've got a little garden behind the bistro, so she does a lot of the herbs and some vegetables back there, and then she's actually teaching people how to grow things from seed for themselves, how to save seeds, and do all that kind of stuff. She's doing.
Well, I got to speak with Regina because I wanted to do a garden this past year, and I never got around to it. But I wanted to, start doing some stuff in the backyard. I got a nice sized backyard, and
partly guide you. She's been doing programs at a bunch of different libraries, teaching people how to grow things, to save seeds, grow things from seed, etc. The whole process.
That's cool. Yeah, that's really cool. It's good to hear that people are trying to kind of regenerate the next generation of things that are to come.
Yeah.
Because I mean, honestly, when things go south, and they will eventually go south, we're going to rely on heavily the hyper local food sources that are here.
Yeah.
Or yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, and particularly think Long Island. Everything has to get trucked here. Not to sound like a prepper, but
But you should.
We are an island.
We are
an
island.
Yeah, we are an island. Yeah.
When shit goes down, you need a boat and you need food, and that the smoked porter. Let's get into that a little bit because I'm almost done with my my
it
bock
smells
here.
Dank as fuck.
Yeah. Oh fuck! I gotta open that.
Yeah.
I gotta open that quick. I'm really interested in the process. So obviously we talked a lot about the smoking element of this. By the way, the boys over at Squarehead Brewery are checking in saying, "What's up?"
Hey.
The boys.
Cheers.
Dude, they've had some really great things going on recently too, and that scene out in Holbrook has been fantastic. And by the way, while we're mentioning other breweries, big shout out to 27A, my locally sourced small nano brewery. Recently they came out with a couple of really great brews, and I was like, you know what, you guys have upped your game, and I'm all in. So thank God I can walk to your brewery, and it makes it nice. But that doesn't mean I'm gonna only stay in my local area. I'm gonna travel, baby. I'm going everywhere.
Wait till Sand City opens the south.
Oh my God, I am gonna lose every red cent I have. It's gonna be
just seeing so we went there after we were at Paul's place yesterday, and just like how fucking tiny that place is. Like it's the tap room's like the size of my kitchen, and they're gonna open up in an abandoned CVS.
Yeah,
it's fucking bad shit.
And they finished the the little deck
Patio
area that they have.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a really cool spot. And they painted the building finally, so now it actually has that Sand City blue on there, which, by the way, they should definitely copyright the Sand City blue because they have that very distinct, like, navy blue feel to it. Yeah, exactly. And, it's just, again, and as Paul knows, it's all about that hyper-local area. So all the people in the town, all the people in your area, all the people in your neighborhood should be going to your local brewery. That's what should be happening because that's the place where the camaraderie begins, where the neighborhood actually becomes a neighborhood again, where the people actually are visiting the places that should be. And, of course, if you're going to go out and you're going to travel and you're going to, seek out some new stuff, definitely go to these places. But, definitely at the same time give that local feel to it. You gotta keep these places in business because when this shit is over, you're gonna want them back in your town. And if they didn't survive this wave of craziness, you're gonna have a really tough time finding a good brewery around your area.
I knew it when you started talking about local guys. One question we forgot to ask Paul that probably a lot of people don't know is where the actual name for the brewery came from.
It was one of my funny questions I was going to ask. Remember, I told you at the beginning of the show. Where did you get the concept of the Blind Bat name and logo and all that good stuff?
Okay, it's pretty simple. I'm colorblind and nearsighted, and it was just a play on how during Prohibition, speakeasy was either called a blind tiger or a blind pig.
Yep.
A blind pig would be like a lower class establishment, where a blind tiger would be like, more of the upper class type of speakeasy. My original idea, I drew this tiger, and then I realized, oh, wait a minute, there's the Blind Tiger Ale House, and there was already a brewery in Indiana called Blind Tiger, so I figured I had to come up with another blind something, and they just a play on my poor eyesight.
Now, with that, though, you were able to get this concept because we were supposed to have the guys from the conservatory over at the Bat Conservatory.
Bats and Brews.
They end up not having the time tonight to be with us. They were going to be on with us. You were able to really establish a nice relationship with that and kind of formulate this, like, really cult following of a festival, a very small festival with them. Give us a little background on that and how that came to be.
Well, that was really just kind of serendipity, who's talking to who. Regina was working with a local guy in South Huntington. His family had a nursery they were turning into a farm, and he hired her to be his farmer. And he was friends with this guy who was doing the education programs at CTUS. And he said, we're doing this Bats and Brews thing. And so this guy, Larry, said, well, her husband's got a brewery called Blind Bat, so you have to. So that first year, it was me. And then there was, I think, a waiter from Black Forest was pouring their beer. And then there was some sales rep from Brooklyn. So that was it. It was just the three of us the first year.
Yeah.
Regina remembers the year. I don't remember the year. But anyway, and then it's grown into this really awesome. It's like one of the best. I like it because it's the smaller festivals that are for a cause, and it's a manageable size in that you can have conversations with people as opposed to lines of people just putting.
And they're not looking to get destroyed.
Huh?
They're not looking to get destroyed and hammered. They're there to enjoy themselves.
On their $50 ticket, like how much beer can I get?
Yeah, it's like a gentleman's type of social gathering.
Food and music, and it's just a really fun time. And then it helps this nature conservatory. So, yeah, so it's good. But it was just serendipity.
And it really worked out for you because Bats and Brews and Blind Bat Brewing kind of works hand in hand, and it ended up really putting a name on the map and giving you that kind of correlation between the two. It really worked out. And so when we were watching what was going on in the scene over the last few years, that's something that we were drawn into. It kind of linked you with them, and at the same time kind of kept that idea, I guess, of what's going on within the scene and what's going on in the industry alive here in New York. a lot of brewers talk about how great that festival is. It's one of those things like people go, you gotta fucking go to that festival.
It
Over the
sells
last
out
3
so
years,
quickly too.
people have been talking like, you guys gotta go to this festival.
It's also nice for the brewers because we don't get to see each other that much because everybody's so busy, and it's just a really nice atmosphere, and you get to have a good time with the attendees, but you also get to catch up with brewers you haven't seen in a long time, and so that's all nice. And it's not a shit show.
Right. And I think that's where it stems from. I think it's a lot of the brewers that we talk to go, well, you haven't been to Bats and Brews yet? I mean, this is where everything, all the networking happens, and this is where, all the goodness is going on. So, we've heard great things about it throughout the years. So it was one of those things that we're really interested in kind of bringing to light, even more so to the conservatory to kind of bring some sort of, a eyes to it in a sense.
And another event up here on the North Shore in Smithtown, Taps and Talent, that helps.
Yes. The Hawks, right? They had the Hawks on there.
Yeah. They always do a release of an inch.
Right.
And Steve got to release one. Yep. So that's also very similar in it's a little smaller, but very similar in spirit and feel.
Yep.
And a really good thing to do. So you keep your eye out for when we can gather again.
Yep.
Both Blues, Taps, and Talons.
There was a new one.
Museum in Cold Spring Harbor.
Yes.
They had their first little,
Rails and Tails.
Oh yeah.
A nice event, and then this year they couldn't do it this year, so hopefully they'll do it again when we can all gather.
Paul, run me down this American Porter here. You guys brewed a Hell Smoke Porter, smoked at the brewery over Applewood. I know we kind of touched on it a little bit, but this porter, basically is citing the immense smoke flavoring in there. So obviously you're smoking over Applewood. We're using a porter base. What else has gone into this process?
It's basically an American porter / robust porter, and I smoke like 20% of the barley over the Applewood. I had an alternate version of it where same exact recipe. I just didn't smoke any of it. That was the Purgatory porter. But yeah, just this time of year, I like a porter. So there you go.
What's the difference between a regular porter and a robust porter? What the challenges of both?
Here, I think, and then it's kind of like the lines start to fade a little bit. It's like the old story, the old question: what's the difference between a porter and a stout? Each brewer will put their own little spin on it. How much of the black malt, roast malt you want to?
Now, is that really it? Is it just a matter of how much malt that goes into it, or is there adjuncts that would change the element?
I assume adjunct would change it. I haven't used any. I mean, the closest thing to anything adjunct-wise I've used for stout or porter is the one on the potato stout with the potatoes.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So I mean,
like if you have a bowl,
you can do so many different little variables on it, which is really part of the fun.
So Jordan R. just sent me one of the photos. I just got it. First hop yard, in 1808, James D. Coolidge planted the first hop yard field in Madison County. By 1859, New York supplied 87% of the hops grown in New York State. So this is one of those, historical landmark things that you see around the state. I have one literally right by my parents' house across the street, which was the first meeting house for women's suffrage in New York, which is kind of cool.
That's cool.
I like seeing those because I'll end up driving through a neighborhood and I'll see that and I'll go, I'm going to stop and go back and read that because they're really cool moments in history to me that made a difference into where we are today. And as good and bad as it is, it's very cool.
We have that 2 blocks from us is an area called the Campgrounds, and if you do a Google Earth or you do even like a Waze, whatever, it's 2 circles and the houses are in a circle. And it was one of the first settlements in Merrick, and they also call it tiny town because all the houses are like two rooms, and one of them is a church, and it's from like 1876 or something like that. It's got one of those placards.
Yeah,
We lived there. Yeah.
These were evolved from the Methodist meeting camps.
Yep.
Yes.
They started little camps. Seacliff started in a similar way, where that's why Seacliff's got all those little tiny little plots of land, because it was originally a meeting camp. They put up tents, and then eventually somebody said, well, let me put up a little cottage, and then they just kind of grew from there.
I love seeing those. I have another one that is literally by my house, and it just cites like some settlement back in the 1800s, and it's just cool. Like on this plot of land here in front of you was something that happened, almost 2 centuries ago, and it's just crazy to think about what it was versus where we are here today. It's just inspiring almost of the time that Long Island. Again, we don't have the rich history back in the 1600s like Europe has. When you go over there and you see bridges built, hundreds of years ago. So you got to kind of almost hold on to what we have here on Long Island. So when you go out east, you're traveling along, what do you call Sound Road and things like that. You'll see like little placards along the way. Stop and read them and take the time to really appreciate Long Island history. And even as you go upstate, the New York history of what has come and where we've been and where we're going. It really can give you an idea of where we're headed, which is always, of course, what Billy Joel said in River of Dreams or whatever else song that he's played. But it gives you a really insightful idea. All right, so there, I'm going to put my tin hat on.
There you go, buddy.
Where are we going to be in like 200 years? Maybe we'll have the rich history like Europe has now.
Well, we do have a rich history. It's just not a European history.
Right.
If you look about the town names on Long Island, Massapequa, Cutza. These are old Native American names.
Yep.
The first people were here when Europe, was still, hitting each other with sticks.
They still do that.
Yeah.
Well, I think Narky meant like bench place, and this thing means like still waters. Hapog actually translates to industrial park. It was what they had.
It's true. Yeah.
Interesting.
But so we have the history. It's just not a European, Eurocentric, as it were.
I'm personally going to bring back the wampum as a form of currency.
Sure.
That's going to be my thing. I think I'm going to bring back like puka shells and try to trade out, certain things. Well,
It could be cultural appropriation, and you're not allowed to do that, Mike.
Whoa! I'm not demeaning any of it. It's wampum. It was in my U.S. history in 4th grade. I know what the currency was back in the day.
See, but I thought wampum was when somebody pissed you off.
No.
Wampum.
No. No, it was shells.
Hey.
It was literally shells.
Oh,
So the American Indians on Long Island used to be able to collect shells.
Wampum.
No.
Right.
No, none of that. They used to collect shells, and the most
Like my kid at the beach?
No, yes, yeah, kind of.
You're a millionaire right now,
Yeah.
Pete.
Yeah, you be with the amount of Ziploc bags you've taken home from the beach, you would be 100% a millionaire back in the 1700s. Or 1600s, really. But that's the truth. What I learned and what I've taken away is, that, again, the rich history of the settlements that were here prior to us was this really origin story of these initial settlers that used the elements that were around them. The things that we just take for granted, Pete, thanks for even saying that. The shells at the beach or the pretty rocks that were being used, they used that as a form of currency to buy and trade. They held that to a standard that was beautiful. They saw the beauty in what was around us. And that's what I'm saying about the history here.
I thought they sold their kids.
No. 2 goats equals 1 child. But that doesn't...
Didn't John Smith, he just I want that chick.
He went out west. He didn't hang out here.
Sacagawea, here we go.
Yeah, Sacagawea is not even the right word. Sacagawea.
Oh, fuck.
Sacagawea.
But we have, Paul said, Massapequa.
Put some wampum on her.
Where's
Massapequa
Graz when you need him?
Right,
Yeah.
was a tribe And listen, I go to history. Massapequa was a tribe of Indians. That's why they're the chiefs. Probably no longer because of political correctness.
No, they still are. They don't give a fuck.
Fair enough. I don't blame them. Because they...
Massapequa was a yellow zone, by the way.
No. Massapequa Park.
That's
correct.
correct.
The yellow zone.
The difference.
They get very specific there.
That's literally...
Like the ghetto of Massapequa is Park, right?
No, Park Avenue. Park Avenue.
No.
To County Line Road is pretty much Massapequa Park.
I know people from Massapequa, and if you say, "Are you from Massapequa Park?" they will take offense.
Yeah, absolutely. Same school district, different residential area. You're correct. But you're right. I mean, like I said, the history of that tribe, the people that were there, they were a well-known tribe of people that ended up, doing very well-known across the state.
This tangent has really just gone off the rails.
Yeah.
No, I'm just. This is the history part of it.
What do you think of the Hell Smoke Porter, Mike?
I didn't open it up yet. I'm still drinking.
Oh, come on,
I'm
bro.
on my 5th beer. Can you cut me some slack?
So they should be going down easier.
That's why he's on to.
I had a fire on 4th Street on my block that I live. I had to go down with my dog. I literally took a red cup full of beer.
Did she piss on those flames? What was she doing?
Well, there was an attic fire, and they had to cut open the roof, so it was pretty cool to watch.
Attic or addict?
ATTIC.
Yes. One is the guy running around, and he doesn't care that he's on fire.
And one's on the 3rd floor
The
that
other one's
burns
the
through the
3rd
roof.
floor of a house.
Well, listen, there's a lot of action going on, and
I mean, Maeve's not a Dalmatian. What does it matter?
She's not. But I was, like I said, drinking before the show, so you got to cut me a little bit of slack. In fact, Paul, this is going to benefit you. I'm gonna hold off on the Hell Smoke Porter, and I'm gonna drink it on a day where I have the first. Well, right, with no other beers on my my breath.
If I didn't have to go to work, I mean.
Right. Exactly. I'm in quarantine, so fuck everybody.
10 a.m. If I don't see a post from you tomorrow morning at 10, but if you're posting that after 11 a.m., I'm going to be disappointed.
Challenge accepted.
There you go.
Tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. he's going to
No, don't change the regulations. It's 10 a.m. It's gonna be a kegs and eggs type of morning.
I'm sorry I moved it an hour back. I'm sorry.
No, there's no daylight savings time up at this bitch. I'm just telling you right now. 10 a.m. You want a Hell's Porter post? You called for it. You got it.
There you go.
And I will give I won't even do a review. I'll just put it out there like, hey, I'm enjoying the shit out of this smoked porter.
You better put it on Insta, right on the page.
Of course it will.
On the story, 10 a.m. Glug, 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 glug.
There you go.
Now, it doesn't have to be me drinking it, but you'll see it poured into the glass.
Pics or it didn't happen, Mike.
No, yeah, you don't have to. You never have to have a picture of you drinking it. It's just in the glass.
Just so you know, I do have a Zoom class to teach at 10 a.m., so maybe I'll drink it while teaching, and that's the post.
It looks enough like coffee.
You're right. And I'll put it in a coffee cup.
Put it in a mug.
I like where your head's at.
You have it in the coffee cup, blow on the cup so it looks like it's hot.
I saw a post like that that said, blowing on your coffee cup with whiskey to pretend it's coffee.
Here, look at the Zoom. See? I can do it. Look. Podcast wouldn't have the visual, but you can go over to our YouTube channel and check out all the replays that we'll post in a few days. Paul, listen, we really appreciate you giving us the time. I don't know what that is. It's an old man sitting with a meme.
It was bad. Sorry.
Okay, fair enough. But we really appreciate you giving us the time. Like I said, this is we're actually honored to have you on because of the history that you provided to Long Island brewing industry, the stuff that you've done over the last decade, and the stuff that you will bring in the future. Let me get the big plug from you. Give me the Instagram, the contact information, the hours of operation. Give me all of that so we get it out to the audience.
Okay. The quickest and easiest is blindbatbrewery.com, where I post the hours of operation, how to find us, 94 Washington Drive, Centerport, Long Island, New York. On Instagram, it's @blindbatbrewer. That's probably where I post the most.
There you go.
Thank you very much.
Paul, this has been an honor. This is the Wort with Mike, Pete, and Steve. GovsRadio.com. I promise that I will get up there. I know Steve and Pete made their way up there, but I'll get up there sooner
I
than
got to
later.
bring the wife because
Yeah, I think I do too.
the food alone, she don't even care about the beer. The food and then wine behind it. Oh,
Yeah, because we carry, being a New York State farm brewer's license, we can carry New York State wine. We carry Macari wine, which my wife and I, we were tasting there back in 2007. We immediately joined their wine club. All of their wines are really terrific. So that's the wine we carry here.
And it sounds like, like you were saying before, the farm brewer's license really opens up to all of the things that New York State can provide. That idea of taste of New York really rings true when it comes to that license. So it definitely makes a difference to have that. And of course, the food locally sustained and the ingredients in the beer is locally sustained and all that other stuff that goes with it is a fantastic concept. And for anyone that's really, like I am, a historic buff of New York, is going to love the concept of supporting local business here in New York, especially in these troubling times. So, Paul, again, thanks a lot for coming on. Steve, do you have a last remarks to give to us before we get out of here?
Yeah, you might not want to do the trial on the COVID vaccine because I got a third bowl and an extra nubbin.
Thanks, guys, for reporting that. That's really important that people know that if you do the trials of the COVID-19 testing, you're going to get a third ball. But you know what? Extra spooch. Pete, what do you got?
I mean, after that, nothing.
Come on. What's your line?
Don't forget to have your pet spayed or neutered.
That's right. We are the Wort with Mike, Pete, and Steve. GovsRadio.com. Thanks a lot for everyone checking us out. Thanks a lot to Paul from Blindback Brewing up in Centerport, New York. And, of course, check us out on all our replays. Check us out on the Hopped Up Network, Spotify, iTunes, and all that. The show will be available to everybody in the next 24 hours. And, of course, everyone enjoy their Thanksgiving holiday. Hope everyone stays safe and sound.
Don't, for the love of God, whatever you're doing this holiday, whether it's with or without more than 10 people, do not try and get through it sober. Go visit your local brewery, your local winery, your local distillery. Get some local made hooch and get through the holiday the best you can.
And if you have more than 10 people, don't answer the fucking door.
Oh yeah, don't look at the windows because Cuomo will be up there like.
It'll be the Cuomo police.
This is the Word with Mike, Pete, and Steve. GovsRadio.com. We out.
Well, that's 2 hours of your life you're never getting back.
First off, it was 3 hours.
What the fuck? How can you talk about beer for 3 hours?
It's beer. There's so many elements in it.
Where's mine? It's been 3 hours and I don't even get a single beer.
You don't get shit.